Wow. Healing. Healing is quite a subject. And prayer. I would like to see if I could bring us up to the level that we represent here in this community in the way of looking at these two subjects from a metaphysical and spiritual point of view. I want to start out by reading something from Abraham Hicks. How many know about Abraham or ready? It's good stuff. Abraham says, true healers know that the wellness is the order of the day. So they will not allow themselves even for a moment to see anything other than that. So the power of the healer is the power to influence the one who needs to be healed into a vibration that allows the healing that they are summoning, that they could get even without the healer, but they can get it faster with a healer's influence. Isn't that powerful? That's great. So let's talk about healer just a little bit. I like to know where words come from. That's just something that's always been interesting to me and has set me on a path many, many, many decades ago of coming into a lot of deeper revelation, was the fact of questioning words, the semantics of words, the whole idea of the root of words and what they mean and where they come from. The word healing actually comes from the Anglo-Saxon word helion, H-E-A-L-N, which connotes both the healing of the physical and spiritual aspects of the human being. So even back then, they understood this connection between the spirit and the mind and the body. That it was a healing was for wholeness, not a healing of this and a healing for that. It wasn't in pieces. You know, there's still a carryover of old Newtonian science and thinking. And that was merely that the human body is a clockwork. It's a machine with parts. And if something goes wrong with the kidneys, you fix the kidneys. And if something goes wrong with the liver, you want to fix the liver. But they never treated the whole person. And not only did they not treat the whole person, meaning that every organ and every cell and every part of the body is a living system that communicates with itself, but they did not understand the unseen part of biology, the unseen part of matter, that part of your body that your five senses does not pick up, called your etheric blueprint. A lot of people believe that physical bodies have an aura. In Some Energetics, we don't teach that. We teach that your aura has a physical body. Because the brain sees matter before energy, we think everything starts with the body. If I could just get my body healed, I'd feel better. I know a lot of people that's had physical miraculous healings and hadn't changed their attitude a bit. People still have their own emotional issues because of the emotional issue or mispatterning of the emotions that caused the physical illness in the first place. So to deal with effect is not going to change the cause of the illness. And one thing that we do know through research today, that the majority of your illnesses, sickness, and diseases was in your etheric blueprint 7 to 6 to 10 months before it ever became physical. Unresolved emotional issues, even up to the age of 5 years old. Some of you think, well, I'm an adult now, I've got this all fixed, I've filled my brain with affirmations and positive thinking, but that has nothing to do with what's below in the lower chakras or the subconscious. If that trap door is shut between the subconscious and the conscious, then I don't care what you change up here. You can change your talk, you can change your thinking, you can change your whole mental field, but you still have the blueprint of that which is unresolved. Unresolved is unresolved. I don't care what age you are. We certainly need to realize that healing starts in the clearing and the cleansing out of old emotional mispatternings that have been stored in the unconscious. Most of what is driving you every day is not in your head, but it's in your subconscious. I heard the other day that 11 billion bits of information is hitting your brain every nanosecond. And yet the human brain can only handle 7 pieces of data at a time. Where do you think all that other data is going? It's going into the subconscious. And because of the power of the subconscious is so strong, the subconscious is driving your life, even when you're trying to live up here in the mental field all the time. One thing that I experienced some years ago was a moment in 1987 in which I realized my mind had outgrown my brain. I thought the brain and the mind were synonymous terms, that the mind was that 3-pound gray matter that was in my head. But I began to realize as awakening happened that my cells themselves carry coded information. All the things that I have suppressed, both good and bad, spiritual and physical, have all been placed into that field within the human cell. Now, up until just a few decades, everybody saw the human cell mostly as empty space with only an electron, a proton spinning around in it in empty space. Well, that's no longer the paradigm. You talk about a paradigm shift that we're living in, and we got to catch up with it. We've got to update ourselves based upon this new paradigm that we're living in today. In fact, it's not even a paradigm anymore of body, mind, and spirit, to be honest with you. Although we're in the overlap, we use the language of body, mind, and spirit because we're 3-dimensional and we understand things in 3s. That's why everything in the Bible is the Father, Son, Holy Ghost, the Lord Jesus Christ, 30-fold, 60-fold, 100-fold. I could go on and on and on. It's because it's a 3-dimensional perception of God's plan and word. So we understand that. But you see, that's all dissolved now in the new quantum understanding that there really is no body, there is no spirit, there is no soul, there's only energy. That's as ridiculous to me as ice saying, I'm not water. Ice looking at water and going, you're runny. You know, I'm dimensional, I'm objective, I shine, I'm looking good, and I don't know about you, you have to have a container. You just go everywhere. And then water looks up in steam and says, I don't know if I believe that. I can't even get a hold of that. See, spirit, soul, and body is the same thing in different temperatures or frequencies, making a different form. But Einstein came along and says, there is no matter. You've been wrong. I mean, he proved thousands of years of Eastern ideas of Maya and illusion has been proved in quantum science. This is why I don't understand why more people are not flooding New Thought metaphysical churches today. Because it's not just hearsay. It's not just woo-woo anymore. It's science. Spirit and science are coming together in a new marriage that is going to bring forth beautiful children of enlightenment. But about matter, you've all been wrong. There is no matter. There's only energy slowed down to a low vibration that it is perceptible to the 5 senses. So everything you're seeing with your eyes in this room is only energy at such a slow frequency that you can see that chair. You can see that physical body. You can see that piano. If I was able to raise the vibratory frequency of any of these things, they would disappear before your eyes. And it didn't mean they went anywhere. It just means that they have been raised to a frequency that your perceptions cannot take in and perceive it. Your dog understands this better than you. Your dog hears better than you do. You don't hear a thing and your dog's ears are going up and you're going, they must hear something I don't hear. Children understand it better. Those which are moving by innate instinct have a better rapport with the world and a more honest and truthful way. You can't fool an animal. You can't fool a child. But you can fool an adult because we live in our frontal cortex and we believe what other people say because we don't know how to discern We don't know how to energetically diagnose. If we could do that, we would not be fooled at all. One of the exercises that I do is the opening of the third eye, the mind of enlightenment, with its innate ability to see through the world of illusion and to see the hidden agenda of people, places, and things. You realize how much you're being manipulated and controlled by those who've learned to do marketing well and getting you to buy things you don't need? I do it all the time when I'm not in my right mind. Tim just has a fit, and it all comes from China, and it's in Chinese, and I don't know how to send it back. I mean, they've got this thing down, and now I've got this shirt that a 10-year-old kid could wear because I'm not Chinese and I'm not small. So I got a whole pile of those shirts. I guess I'll bring them to the garage sale. No, don't bring them. Okay, I got you. Okay, I get it. I get it. So healing is a powerful thing, but it is the fact that we have to look at everything as energy and realize that energy forms itself as matter by using the spectrum of vibration and frequency. So I wanted to talk a little bit about healing. In ancient times, there was no division between body, mind, and spirit. We'll talk about that. I get ahead of myself all the time because it's in here. A second development was following the healing outside the Christian church and the systematic execution of lay healers and intuitives. Healing became legal again in 1951. I don't know if you knew that. Up to then, a healer was seen as someone doing witchcraft and could be burned at the stake. That's 51. That's in most of our time that we've been here, some of us on the earth, that this has become outlawed in that situation. The legacy of these historical events has been that medicine and healthcare have evolved without spiritual base. However, during the last 20 years, people have become less satisfied with scientific explanations of their existence and begun their own spiritual searching. Everyone can heal. I personally do not call myself a healer. I feel my ego would like to give me that label. And I refuse to take on as many labels as I possibly can. Because that is a way of separation. Anything that separates me from you is the ego system. Even as a spiritual leader up here, if I start being the one, the man of the hour, the guru, and start making you feel that I'm somewhere and have something you don't have. Yes, maybe I chose a different life path in which I've spent more time studying, researching, and I decided to put myself out there and to speak and minister and develop this ability in me, but it doesn't mean there's not a one of you that couldn't have done the same thing. But you chose a different path. You chose maybe to get married, raise children, and do different things with your life than some of us did. I don't want to be put on a pedestal. Every time I've let people put me on a pedestal, it was just further to fall. I'm trying not to do that. So what am I? If I'm not a healer, I'm a facilitator. I have stepped up and said yes to the universe. I will allow the Spirit to move through me in the form of new energy. And oftentimes we need a tool to do that. It's called a point of contact. Now, I was raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I was drug around to all these tent revivals and mostly Oral Roberts tent revivals. Believe it or not, my parents used to play music for Oral Roberts when he had an old raggedy tent on Main Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma before he was ever popular and well-known worldwide. I used to tell people, I'm from Tulsa, and they didn't know what Tulsa was. I said, well, we're known for two things, oil and oral. It was the oil capital of the world at that time, so it was known for that. And everybody, even in Europe, knew about Oral Roberts, you know. But I was drug around, and people made fun of him because when they prayed, he had people to touch the chair in front of him. And then we got on the radio. He says, go to the radio and touch the radio. And then he got on TV and he said, touch the TV. And people made such fun of it. But I'm telling you, the genius in him taught that people need a point of contact between their higher and lower, their spiritual and their natural self. For us, in Soma Energetics, it happens to be a tuning fork. Tuning fork is just a tool, a point of contact in which spirit can redefine itself into a vibration that can be received to the client. Your televisions, all those frequencies, I've got about 1,000, I guess, I don't know, 900 and some stations. And they're always there in my house all the time. They don't come and go. But if I want to watch one of them and I know the 3 numbers to put in, the frequency, like I know CNN is 2.2, I happen to know that one. And I put in 202, guess what shows up? Because out of all those many thousands of frequencies, I tuned into a frequency that manifested itself. Now in just a moment, we're going to have a healing service here. Spirit has told me every first Sunday, have a healing person in which we can minister to you on a personal level. So instead of doing our prayer and blessing, first Sunday is going to be for actually healing process. How many here do healing work, spiritual healing work? I dreamed this last night. I dreamed that I said this very thing to you. And in a moment, when we do this, after the offering, we're going to ask you to come up, and we're going to ask you that want to stay and be ministered to on a personal level to come and sit on the front here, and we're going to pray for you. I believe it or not, in the laying on of hands. The laying on of hands. I've seen it. I've done it. There was a time in my ministry where literally oil would drip off the palms of my hand as I prayed for people. I don't want to lose some of this. I really gave a lot of it up when I came into New Thought. And I don't want to lose everything that was coming through the anointing of the Holy Spirit. So I want to be able to do that. Let me tell you a little bit. Scientific research has demonstrated that the fields of the hands are influenced and modified by intent. It also tells us that the observation of the properties of the magnetism indicates what is called a zero magnetism exists within the palm of the hand. And if you look at your lifeline, which is that longer line right here, and if you would do an infinity sign where it crosses is your 0 point palm of the hand. What about that? It says that through this point right here is a spatial influx and flow of free energy to enter into the body. Yeah. You can start feeling it right now. Everybody want to do this? You want to try that? Yeah, just gather that energy into the palm of your hand. Just gather it up into your hand. Feel that energy. And once you're really feeling it, I want you to take it, put it in front of your heart, and just let it go. Yeah, let it go and to fill this wonderful space with that new free energy. So what is this free energy? This free energy is a new energy that is penetrating into our third, fourth dimensional time-space world that we're living in. I call it fifth dimensional energy. This gives us a different kind of healing. We must not come to healing from the lack. We can't say, I don't have it and I need to get it. You've got to come from abundance. Abundance says, I am created whole and magnificent in this moment, in the kind of spiritual healing. And we have to call it spiritual healing. We can't call it healing. If we call it healing, then we are subject for them to come in and to fine us for practicing medicine. If I start saying I'm a healer and I can heal your heart trouble, I can't say that. Our practitioners cannot say that. And you that are saying that need to be careful, because this is getting big enough that they're starting to check us out. You got to be as wise as a serpent and as harmless as the dove. You better know what you're talking about and use the right language in ways. But they cannot touch you if you say you're a spiritual healer, meaning the divine is flowing through you, not from you. So today we're going to let it come through us. And what we're going to do is not try to fix you. We're going to try to undo anything that you have picked up in your belief system that says you are not whole in this moment. We're going to let that go, and that false perception of yourself, seeing yourself in lack or in need of healing. You're not in lack or need of healing. There is no healing, for God does not need healing. Who are you? That's the great question. The great genius of all of this has been in the identity. I told them in the class today, I love a lot of things that Buddha says. I quote Buddha and Buddhism and many of the great prophets and visionaries, but they were not about their identity. They were about enlightenment, human enlightenment. And I keep telling you, that little caterpillar does not go through that breakdown into goo so it can reorganize itself as an enlightened caterpillar. It is doing that because it's going to flourish and become a new physiology and biology that is way beyond the caterpillar. You are impregnated right now with the seed, the DNA of God within you that is being decoded and awakened in you. And that's why you're so uncomfortable, is because your pregnancy is getting to that point where you just can't find a place. And the birth pains are coming, I'm telling you right now. I wish I could keep you from it, just like I'm sure your husbands and your partners and all of that, when you mothers were going through that, would have liked to have done anything to help you to go through that. But there's nothing they could do but support you. But here's the good news. Joy cometh in the morning. Yes, you have incarnated for such a time as this. It is not by accident that you are where you are in consciousness and where you are in location, where you are in this community. You are here to empower yourself and to remember who you are and to strengthen that faith that is in the higher atmosphere of your mind that takes you beyond all illusions of the world and see the reality of that which God has done. And I'm here to tell you, no matter, and I got some stuff too, but I'm going to look past it and I'm going to celebrate my creation, for it was successful. My spiritual body is as it is, as it was created to be. Prayer. Prayer is confirming that. Prayer is not praying for anything. Quit praying for. Greg Braden gave us this, based upon the Essenes, which mostly Jesus was probably a part of that sect of the Essenes. And what he says, and he gave this wonderful example. The example was a drought was going on in north New Mexico. They needed rain so bad. So he called this great visionary manifester and said, meet me for coffee. He met him. He says, we need to go out here in the desert. We need to pray for rain. We've got to break this horrible drought that is going on. So they drive out in this hot dry desert. And the young man gets out. Greg's on the phone or something, so he didn't follow him. He's looking at him, and he sees the young man take off his shoes or sandals or whatever he had on. And he walked out there, and he just looked. He was kind of doing this. And before Greg could get out of the car to get out there so they could pray, the guy comes back. And Greg says, well, I thought we was going to pray for rain. He said, I didn't pray for rain. I prayed rain. I felt the mud between my toes. I felt the wet ground. I felt the rain coming down on my body and on my face. So I want you to change your prayer ideas to pray healing, not for it. When you pray for something, you're saying, I don't have it. Pray healing. Heal your mind. You that are the so-called prayer warriors of this thing, heal your mind first before you pray for anything or pray anything. For the healing, A Course in Miracles says, the healing of my mind is the healing of my brother's mind. In Some Energetics, we do not deal with people's illnesses, disease, or symptoms. Yes, we have empathy for people who come and say, I've got a bad knee, I got a bad back. We've even got tuning forks to work with acupressure points and joints and all those kind of things to give you some relief. But we know that's not what's going on. And you know, if you're in pain or whatever, you just want somebody to stop it. Because nobody's willing to do the work. That's the thing that has been so edited out from all of us, has been the process. We want magic. And I appreciated Susan talking about that yesterday. I didn't get to stay for the whole thing, but I love the idea that she made such a difference between magic and miracles. You want magic. You want a God that pulls rabbits out of hats. You want God with a wand that says you are healed. You want a God that just skips the whole thing. No, Jesus said, I'm the way. And the things I've done, you shall do too. And the things that they've edited out in the book that I learned when I was missing for 18 years, you must learn. You must learn that it wasn't a miracle to turn water into wine. It was nothing but the laws of alchemy. I understood at the deep level that water and wine are made of the same thing. I've learned that gold and lead is made of the same thing. I have learned that this and that is made of the same thing, that it is only in perception that we separate. All things are not of God as much as they are God, made manifest. Let's honor God in what we want to manifest. I want us all to be healthy. I want us all to be free. And I'm going to close with this. 6 ways to boost your healing power. Some of these you may not like, but you need to hear it. Change the way you look at healing. First thing. Change your perception today. Secondly, clean up your diet. Who hasn't fought that? I fought it for years and years and years until they told me a few months ago I had entered diabetic. I changed my diet. I'm out of diabetes. I'm no longer in diabetes. I changed my diet. Clean up your environment in your home. Put some healing lamps around. Put some crystals around. Make sure that you're filling your home with healing alpha music. You can get on the internet. Just put alpha music. What we played right there came right off the internet that we used in the quantum jumping. Turn off more news maybe and play alpha. You're not going to get healed, listen to CNN. You're going to get mad and frustrated, some of you. Clean up your thoughts. Do not say, I am sick. God is not sick, and God is the I am that you are. Anything you say with I am to it, you make it as it is in creation. I am whole. I am healed from the top of my head to the soles to the tip of my toes. And your body's going to scream and say, but you hurt and you got pain. But I'm not that pain. I'm having it, but I'm not that pain. I am a living expression, individualized as the presence of God in the human experience. But it does not define me. My pain does not define me. My disease does not define me. My alcoholism does not define me. My addictions do not, my sexual orientation does not define me. My gender does not. My race does not. We must become a transcendent people. We must become as a city set on a hill that cannot be hidden. We must become the new human. We must let go of old ancestral and genetic material and become reborn. Nothing wrong with being born again. Become your own child. Rebirthed in this moment. So, these are things to contemplate. There's nothing that I get up here and say that is necessarily your gospel. I'm not saying it because I want you to immediately believe anything that I'm saying. But I do offer you ways to stretch your mind a little bit. I do offer you different ways to see things. But I believe that we can see some great manifestation here if we would come from abundance and not lack. And we'd come from love and not fear. And if we'd come from unity and not separation. Yes. I am all that God created me to be in this moment. Say it with me. I am all that God created me to be in this moment. My sickness and illness does not define me. My sickness and illness does not define me. I am free in this moment.
I am free in this moment.
To be all that God created me to be.
To be all that God created me to be.
Heal my mind. Of all false thoughts that do not come from Christ consciousness. And so it is. All right.
Time to let your heart light shine. Time to let your